everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Two, where it's our show where we review things in television, episode by episode, season by season, or doing these season reviews, full spoilers, no anything. I was actually debating because going into this one, I love the Proud Family a lot. I loved it growing up. I loved it during my rewatch, which I did a quick impression for last time around. But since we were still beginning the show, this is classified as a new show, not season 3, which some people were back in the day, but like, no, this is a new show. It's its own identity. It's part of the Proud Family franchise, but it's its own thing. Which after watching the whole first season, it is, but it isn't in a good way. I viewed it as an opportunity to talk about it in full because even though it's a comedy, it's not really something I have to go in depth about. There are some genuine actual plot and some character development, but it's a cartoon, so it's a bit finicky on it, to be honest with you. And also the obvious thing is like, well, how does the Proud Family work in 2022? Because the thing is that back then there was a reason why the show came out, and now again, and I was morally thinking about I love the show growing up as a kid, so I was like, how do you bring it back? How do you put this in the modern world, and like, how do you expand upon it? It's a cartoon, so it's like, they could get away with like, oh, they'll just retcon everything, you know, the Penny and her friends would be bored in the 2000s instead of in the 90s, so just to make that work, you know, more things are more modernized. That's what I see. And ironically, because I didn't get to this in the first impressions, because in the first impressions I think I was being a little bit more vague in the spoilers, even though like it's a cartoon that doesn't really have like an embarking story. It does have more connective thread tissues than the original show. I'll give it that. There's a lot more like carryover throughout the entire season that I was actually surprised on. So I give it credit on that they actually got to make that work for this stage, because like again, this is a new store, a new world for Disney, where it's like Disney Plus is kind of like, if you're a hardcore fan, expect a little bit of continuity. Not to say Proud Family ever had continuity issues in the original series. I will say this: one of my sadly my big pet peeves with the show is that the movie is not canon, because the movie had Penny turning 16, and in this show she's back to being 14. Which is very sad. 14 going to 15. So we're kind of in the second half of their 14-year-old, even though I think La Cienega turned 15 at this season's point. But just because that happened doesn't mean like, okay, we got a little bit of a passage of time, a little bit, not too crazy. So going into it, yeah, there will be spoilers for Loud and Powder. So if you haven't seen the first season, it's all now on Disney Plus. And the other thing I wanted to do this whole thing is that it has been renewed for season 2. Let's go. I don't know if I'm a bit shaky because my usual co-host, which I somehow mentioned in every episode of this show, It's Just George, mentioned to me before that the Cuphead show on Netflix, even though these are two completely different beasts, is while the Cuphead show is going to get a season 2, technically it's the second half of the first season's production order that they're just going to label it as season 2. So technically it's not really season 2. The animators did not get contracted to come back. It was already the second half of their first season work. So I'm not quite sure if that's the same thing with the Proud Family. I'm not really sure. I'm hopeful it's not, considering the way season 1 ended. I'm gonna really hope that like they just put it out there and like maybe we'll get the comeback, maybe we won't, but who knows? Who really knows by this point? So anyway, let's go for it. So when I turned into watch back in February, I was very hyped for the show's return. I think it was around the time I did the quick impressions for it in late 2020, early 2021, around there, when it was fully announced that, yeah, the show's coming back. It's new, brand new on Disney Plus. It was going to be more modernized. It was going to be more of a... Because you really could not bring back the original animation style from 2002, 3, 4 into 2022. It just doesn't work. As much as it will feel nostalgic, it's very hard to replicate that. And even I was concerned about that. Like, how would they bring it back animation-wise? And then when you saw the first footage in the first trailer, and I was like, oh my God, this looks perfect. This looks perfect. I can't even I can't stress about that. Like, it just looks so good. Mainly onto the point that, first of all, shout out to like, I don't even know, like they kept the core designs, but they modernized it just a tad bit, especially on Penny. Penny looks a little bit older. She's still 14. She hasn't aged that much. And the joke in the first episode was like a mysterious light. We're going to call it the light of reboots, or the revamp light. And so all of Penny's friends even her baby brother and sister get a little bit bigger. They don't explain it. They just call it's the growth. It's the puberty growth. So that's why they're taller. That's why their designs have slightly been tweaked a little bit, just a tad bit. But anyway, yeah, the animation looks amazing. It looks great. They actually had shading and lighting, and I'm like, oh my god, this looks so freaking beautiful. And I thought it just looked great from episode to episode. Like, it just looked perfect. It really did. And I was very, very happy with the end result. I really was. And all 10 episodes were very consistently animated, no issues whatsoever. They definitely took the TLC for the series. And honestly, I know I was bummed. I was very hopeful we get that in 2021, but we didn't. It could have been, but it's like, no, the animation was part of it, and it was perfect. Especially the season finale. I thought the season finale looked, oh my god, it looked like the premise for a second movie. Oh, beautiful. Anyway, yeah, so another great shout out I have to give it is, again, it's the era of revival, so majority of your cast comes back, which I'm very surprised. 95% of the cast came back, and I was like, damn, after all this time, 15 years, they were like, yeah, sign us back up. Let's get back into this world. Let's play with these characters again. And it was like, it was time to bring them back out. And it was like, I'm very thankful everyone came back. Well, except Orlando Bloom, which when I recorded the first impression, I just thought that maybe he got busy and maybe he didn't want to do the show anymore. It happens. And then I read the real reason why he couldn't come back. And I'm like, I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm not going to say anything about that. I do not criticize other people, but I totally understand why Disney did not want to bring him back. Which I'm like, okay, that's perfectly fine. You wrote him off. That's perfectly fine. Because his character Sticky did not come back in the show. He appeared for a cameo just to like segue. Like it's not an off-screen write-off. It's like, yeah, he's going to Japan. There you go. That's it. And nothing in that. And we get new characters. And I haven't even gotten to the new characters yet, which I'm like very surprised. Because normally when you do these revivals and then you bring in like, you know, the new characters, the new faces of the that they're going to kind of get newcomers into the series. I was very concerned about that because, like, again, the classic characters are so prominent. And thankfully, majority of the episodes are focusing on the classic one. They don't really make too much of a big deal to try and make the new characters stand out. Because I think someone, like, I was on TikTok and Teen Titans Go made this reference to One Piece where it's like, oh, we're going to constantly keep adding characters so that just that our story doesn't get too stale. Which I'm like, yeah, I mean, a lot of cartoons do that where they add in new characters just for the sake of like, oh, the new episodes are surrounding about them and that's where our new comedy comes from, which I understand it is a way to do it. I'm not going to disrespect that for it, but I'm thankful at the end of the day, in this instant, they grew them into the story organically and they didn't really made it like it still felt like the Proud family were the focus, whether that was Penny Proud most of the time, Oscar Proud, Trudy, of course, Sugar Mama. I'm sad to say I made this promise at the end of the first impression that by the time we get to the season 1 review, I would have the Sugar Mama Funko Pop in my hands. I'm very sad to say it is not. Target was a bitch. Apparently, I apologize for my language. I know it's a kid's show, but I'm sorry. I was online every single day, and the one day I forgot to check it, it just sells out. So I gotta find it in stores, and they're so well stocked now that they just don't. I saw the Oscar and Trudy 2-pack, but not Sugar Mama. I don't give a damn about the rest. I really don't. Like, I'm happy they got their own Funko Pops. I'm really am, but I only care about Sugar Mama. I really do, and I don't have her. So I'm very excited about that. Hopefully when season 2 rolls around, I'll have her in my collection. But anyway. Moving back onward. So, yeah, so the new characters, like, they were great additions, but it was mainly back on the original cast. So I'm like, that was perfectly fine for me. That, you know, and also I was very genuinely surprised when we're talking about, like, this is the thing about, like, old, new, and it was correct, where one of the new girls that I thought was like, oh, she was probably the new character. And then we got another new character. I'm like, wait, I thought she was the new character. It's like, no, she was on the old show. I'm like, she was on the old show? And then they had a flashback. Apparently, Michael was Michael from the first show, but I'm like, that was her name. I'm like, I didn't even fucking know. I didn't know. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I watch a lot of TV shows from then and on. I forget people's names. Be happy I remembered the main Proud family. Say, don't ask me to remember a secondary one, which now he's got promoted to like recurring. So I'm like, that's great. That's awesome. And it's times of modernizing, figuring out yourself. So I'm like, that's great. Kudos. And they don't really like make a big deal about this. Like, no, it happened. It was organic, and there she is. And I'm like, that's great. That's perfect. And she made me laugh a couple times, which I'm like, good. But speaking of like, new characters, we have Maya, played by Keke Palmer, which ironically this is the first time I've seen Keke Palmer in anything, which is surprising because if you know my age, that was around my generation. That was kind of like at the tail end when I was clocking out. But I would have seen her in True Jackson VP or any other property she was doing back then. But no, this isn't the first time I'm seeing Keke Palmer in anything. I think she nails it as Maya. She's a different sort of addition to the group, and I think that perfectly works out fine. It's a little cliche that she just kind of like throws herself into one of them. Her identity kind of gets a little lost towards the end, but the core personality is still there by the end of it. But yeah, so that's my own. Maya's great. She was a great addition. All the new characters are a great addition. I just don't remember all the names. I apologize. But speaking back into the original characters, again, yeah, the great thing was bringing back the original voice cast. That was a great addition where we slid back right into that world. It's like no time has passed, especially when Sugar Mama's first scene came in. I was like, I miss this woman so much that I was so happy she came back. I was so happy. And they really treated Oscar like crap this go around. Like last series, they were kind of a little bit tame on him, a little bit, but now with the new animation style, the memes and everything, it was like Oscar just gets insulted and brutalized in every episode, yet he's still the same character in the next one. Like, he's still the same POS in the next episode, and I'm like, how is Trudy still married to him? Like, how? Like, how? And there's some things like they just get away with. Like, there's a clear like, yeah, they had sex joke. I think in the second episode, and I was like, you guys just had twins and you already want to go back again. I'm like, okay, I think sure. I mean, Oscar's not making any sort of income. And that's another thing. Like one of the consistent things about this series is that they're much more consistent with the plot, where there isn't a plot, but there's like plot threads. Like Oscar gets a loan from one of the new characters' dads, and he gets the loan because, oh, your daughter was nice to my daughter. Let me repay you by giving you this $1 million loan to open your theme park based on an attraction that isn't already well received. And I'm just like, you just committed career suicide, my dude. What happened to credit checks? Making sure they have money to pay off the loan regardless. And I'm like, Jesus. I'm happy about the whole, like, the snack land subplot. I'm happy about them. I'm like, damn. I'm like, this dude, like, freaking invested so much money into them. Like, I'm not surprised. And again, like, all the Oscar humor it's like Randy from South Park, where, like, they know the kids are the star, but Randy's the main star. Like, whenever Randy has, like, his own moments, that's the best moment. That's kind of like Oscar. Like, it's still Penny's show. It's still about her life doing her own thing, but it's Oscar's like the secondary one. He's the one really taking home the gold and all the best one-liners. So that's what I loved about it. The plot in some of the episodes, like the regular plot, I completely forgot how crazy sometimes Proud Family could be. Sometimes they take a very average plot and turn into something a little bit more extreme than usual. This is like, you know, like time travel stuff, Amazon ripoff with like ninja suits, and I'm like, the amount of Marvel references they made, the Rock reference. I love the Rock and Kevin Hart reference they made. I'm like, they're both owned by Disney, so I'm like, I'm not surprised they did that. I'm really not, but it was just great to see everything, and just to see even like the other stuff, the supporting cast, La Cienega, Zoe, I forgot the other one. I forgot already. The other one. I apologize. I can't remember all their names. Like you, yeah. But credit me for remembering the ones I remember. But all of them come back. They're great. They're still again. The actors and actresses easily helped slide them back into their roles, and it was great. It was really good to see. I still like all the La Cienega stuff, regardless if she's like a real POC to everyone. It's her parents. Like, I remember when we were in episode 2 and. The dad was like so freaking stressed because he thought his wife was having an affair, and I looked at the guy. I'm like, regardless if it's a stereotype nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised, but he doesn't roll like that. And then by the time he finds out the truth, he just starts like expressing happy. Yes, my wife is not cheating on me with a better looking man. I'm so happy. I'm like, I love this show so much that we get moments like that. It's so hilarious. It really is. I love more focus on Bobby this time. Bobby was like one of those like underrated characters from the first show, so putting him a little bit more focus. He's still in the background most of the time, and it was like, I love this. Even like when I was like working my last job, like after I binged the Proud Family the first time for this show, I kind of imitated some things like in my head with his voice, which I'm like that I love him so much, I really do. And they gave him a little bit more focus this time around, so that was cool as well. In terms of anything else I didn't like, I really didn't like some of the jokes. It's a comedy, so some of the jokes didn't land with me, and you know, you're gonna have that with every when any comedy you watch. Like some of the jokes are just gonna fall flat. There really isn't nothing you can do. Like as long as majority hit, that's all that matters, and they kept that going. And again, the modernization of times, like, you know, just jumping from 2004 to now 2020, like it definitely helped the show, because now they were able to, like, you know, they made a parody on Uber. They made a parody on they didn't really do on time travel, like, so to speak, superheroes, stuff like that. And I was like, that was cool. Like, you know, they took that and it made it work for something that the Proud Family that I would easily accept, understanding coming from that world. But the season finale was like really what took me. Like the season finale was like amazing from start to finish. This was finally the episode where we get to see more of Sugar Mama. Like, who is Sugar Mama? How do we get to that point? Because they didn't really talk about the other members of the Proud Family. They stop around just about her. So it's like, we don't know about Oscar and Bobby's dad. We don't know anything about just anything else with that side of the world. So finally they do it for the Ancestry.com ripoff of the week, and they find her family in Oklahoma, I believe, or Tennessee. I think it's Oklahoma. So they head off over there, and it's like, they're not Sugar Mama. I was very surprised at how much they avoided the joke of, they're not males and like younger Sugar Mom. They're not. They're just very similar in their brash attitudes, and just seeing them all interact, and it's like, it was weird. Like this was kind of like the Tigger movie that we should have gotten, where it's like it's connected, but it's different in the way. I think that's the best I can explain it as. You know, there's the similarities, but there's a difference, so to speak. And just seeing the Proud Family out of their elements, you know, like just going from the city environment to like this rural town environment, and seeing how some of them really fit really well, and some of them really don't fit any well. And I thought that was a really great and funny transition for that show to deal with. And I was very bummed when the season finale ended, to be continued. And I'm like, oh my God, you big tease. And I was like, there's got to be an episode 11, right? You can't leave it out there. It's like, no, that's it. That's season 1 finale. And I'm like, oh, damn. Like, you really want me to come back for season 2? Like, this is the same. Like, they made, like, I already loved the first show, but this show I loved even more. And it's rare. Like, normally the revival or the reboot is half the time not as great. They only do it for the nostalgic factor, for the easy cash grab, but they don't. They only did 10 episodes so far. That was enough to get us back into this world. And we fall in love with this world again. We really do. There is not a single episode I didn't get bored of. Every episode hit to a certain point. The amount of references they made to the old show. I was actually very surprised they didn't actually decide to go back and just redo like the older animation, the newer animation. Like, no, they still kept that true. And they just kept it going. Even they kept the aspect ratio from those episodes. Like, it switched from the new current to like the old box format, which I'm like, that was a nice added touch. I love that. But still, but at the end of the day, like this show, like the creators came back, the EPs, the writers, they knew what they were trying to do, and they were like, they did it, and they succeeded to the 10th of the degree, and I loved it. I loved it even more. I'm not gonna say it's better than the first show, because that's just blasphemy to say like the revival is better than the first show. Like it's kind of blasphemy to say that nowadays, but I will say, if you're binging Proud Family, the original, to Louder and Prouder, you will notice an increase in quality. You will. I think it's the best the show's ever done so far. I'm happy that the show's going to continue for another season, whether that's going to be at the end of this year or the start of next year, who knows. But as long as the animation is still top tier, take as much time as you need. I'm in no rush. I already waited 15 years for the show to come back the first time. I can wait another year for the season 2. I can wait. It's no rush. As long as the quality's still there, and we got to see these characters in new situations and new environments, and just to see what the story entails for them next. Who knows how this will end? I really don't know. Disney Plus nowadays is very rare. Like normally it has to be some sort of like destination in mind. What does the Proud Families look like? I don't know, because the first show abruptly got canceled, and then the movie happened, but that wasn't really like the closure we needed. That was just like a fun episode. I'm not even sure. Like maybe the movie does take place afterwards. All of this, I think, but they have to explain the height difference and the babies. So that's future talk for there. So for me right now, the Proud Family, Louder and Proud is season 1 gets my highest recommendations. I very much enjoy it. If you're a fan of the original series, you're going to love this one too. All episodes of season 1 are now on Disney Plus, so go check it out right now. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of season 1 of Louder and Prouder? Are you going to check out season 2? Let's talk about it down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's Up 2 from ActionX reviewing the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, season 1. Again, only on Disney Plus, so go check that out as well. If you want to see more of us from What's in the Tube, because we do review episode by episode each and every week for Rookie and Walker, go check it out on youtube.com/ActionX to see more of that cool stuff. We do other quick impressions, other first impressions similar to this one, so go check them out as well. If you want to hear about the Proud Family, we will most likely do some sort of coverage for season 2 next time around, so whenever that is, we'll see how that goes. But also, yeah, so please, but if you like hearing my voice and being passionate about shows, go check out What's in the Tube in general on youtube.com/ActionX. Please also ring this bell to let you know when the next video is live. Please also subscribe if you haven't yet. Please also like, favorite, share this review if you want to. Please also follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates we may have for our channels, which also includes the Collection Compass. So go check that out. Go check out. I can't speak. I'm done. I'm done over here. I'm tired. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please share the video. But until we see each other again, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.